Sure, here's an original story in 3 parts, without headings, inspired by the title you provided. The rain had just begun when Adam crossed the empty parking lot with his daughter's small hand wrapped inside his own. The neon lights from the corner grocery flickered weakly, reflecting against puddles and the tired expression in his eyes. Being a single dad meant every evening felt like a marathon. Homework, dinner, late shifts at the auto shop, and the quiet ache of memories he didn't talk about. But tonight, Lily was chattering about the stray cat she'd seen behind their building, her tiny voice full of hope that they might bring it food. He smiled, letting her innocence soften the edges of his exhaustion. They were almost to the car when Lily tugged hard on his arm. "Daddy, please help her," her voice trembled. Adam followed her gaze toward the alley by the dumpster. 2 men were cornering a woman, their shadows long and mean against the brick wall. The woman's cry was muffled by a rough hand. Adam felt his chest tighten not with fear but with something older and sharper. He promised himself years ago he was done with violence. He walked away from the life where fists and instincts ruled every decision. But Lily's hand shook in his own. He heard her whisper again, softer this time, aching, "Please, Daddy." In that moment there was no choice. He told Lily to stay by the car and lock the doors, his voice calm despite the storm in his veins. As he stepped into the alley, the men turned, sneers forming on their faces like they'd just spotted entertainment. "Keep walking," one of them growled. Adam didn't. Instead, he lifted his eyes and spoke evenly, a warning, a request, a final mercy. They laughed. The first swing came fast, but Adam was faster. Old reflexes took over, buried instincts reawakening with frightening precision. Movements simple, efficient, controlled, the kind of skill that spoke of training, of a past he never mentioned. One man hit the ground hard. The other charged at him with a bottle that shattered against the wall as Adam sidestepped and took him down just as quickly. The alley fell silent except for the rain. The woman slid to the ground, shaking but alive. She clung to Adam's arm long enough to whisper, "Thank you," before disappearing into the darkness like a ghost escaping a nightmare. Lily watched from the car, eyes wide, not afraid of her father but in awe of him. On the drive home, she rested her head against his shoulder and said nothing. Adam didn't either. Some acts spoke too loudly for words. He thought it ended there. The city swallowed incidents like that every day, quiet rescues, unseen heroes, unreported shadows. By morning, Adam was back under the hood of a broken sedan, grease smudged on his knuckles, the steady hum of the shop grounding him in normalcy. The only reminder of the night before was the slight stiffness in his shoulder and the lingering question in Lily's eyes when she'd hugged him before school. Around noon, a black car rolled to a stop outside the garage, sleek, expensive, and completely out of place beside the rusted pickups and sun-faded taxis. The shop fell quiet. His coworkers exchanged looks. A woman in a tailored coat stepped out, her presence somehow both sharp and composed. Her heels clicked on the concrete as she approached. "I'm looking for Adam Hale," she said, scanning the room until her gaze landed on him. He straightened slowly, wiping oil from his hands, caught between confusion and wariness. "That's me." She studied him for a moment, not with suspicion, but with recognition, as if she already knew what he was capable of. "My name is Evelyn Cross. I'm the CEO of Crosstech Industries." The room seemed to shrink around them. Adam had heard the name, a massive corporation, the kind that lived in headlines he never had time to read. He couldn't imagine what someone like her wanted from someone like him. Evelyn asked to speak with him privately. Out back, beneath the shade of the half-collapsed awning, she told him the truth. The woman he'd saved was her sister. She'd been followed for weeks, threatened because of a corporate dispute Evelyn herself had unknowingly ignited. Last night could have ended in tragedy. Instead, a quiet single father had stepped into the storm and rewritten the ending. "My sister said you moved like someone trained," Evelyn said softly. "Like someone who knew exactly what he was doing." Adam's jaw tightened. He didn't confirm, he didn't deny. The past didn't belong in this life, not near Lily. But Evelyn didn't pry. Instead, she made an offer not of money, not of applause, but of purpose. Protection, security, a position that would mean more income, stability, and the chance to use skills he'd once buried. It sounded like opportunity wrapped in risk. He imagined Lily's laughter in their tiny apartment, the bills stacked on the kitchen table, the nights he stayed awake pretending not to worry. Still, the shadows from his old world whispered warnings. He told Evelyn he needed time. She nodded, leaving him a card embossed with silver, her final words lingering like a promise and a challenge. People like you don't just walk away from who they are. But sometimes, who you are is exactly what someone else needs. That evening the sky blazed gold above the city as Adam walked Lily home from school. She squeezed his hand and finally asked what had been sitting in her heart all day. "Are you a hero?" He knelt to her level, searching for the right truth. "I'm your dad," he said gently, "and I'll always protect people who need help, but heroes, they're just people who choose to do the right thing even when it's hard." Lily thought for a moment, then smiled, small, brave, and full of trust. Later, when she slept curled against her old stuffed rabbit, Adam sat at the kitchen table with the business card under the weak light of a flickering bulb. He felt the weight of two futures pressing on his chest, one safe and ordinary, one dangerous but meaningful. His hands shook slightly as he remembered the fear in the woman's eyes, the same fear he'd once sworn no innocent person should ever feel. Maybe he hadn't been running from violence all these years. Maybe he'd been running from responsibility that only he could shoulder. The next day, he called Evelyn. Her relief was quiet but sincere. Training began, discreet, professional, disciplined. Adam balanced shifts at the shop with the new work, always home in time to read Lily a story, always careful to shield her from the darker side of his duties. Yet even as he stepped back into a world of security briefings and quiet corridors, he carried himself differently this time, not as a weapon, but as a father guided by purpose rather than anger. Weeks later, Adam stood watch outside an event hall while Evelyn spoke on stage about integrity and rebuilding trust. Somewhere across the city, Lily colored pictures at her friend's house, safe, carefree, unaware of the threats that never reached her door. Adam exhaled slowly, realizing that life hadn't dragged him back to the man he used to be. Instead, it had asked him to become something better, strength without cruelty, courage without pride. When the night ended and the city lights blurred into soft rivers of gold, he walked home beneath the quiet sky. Lily ran into his arms at the door, laughing, and he knew, with a certainty deeper than fear, that everything he fought for began and ended right there.